What kind of RV you got?
Oh, it's a Class C. It's a drivable one. It's about 21 feet long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too big. It's scary to drive in the mountains, I'll tell you that.
Well, you just go slow. You don't want to put yourself in harm.
Mm-mm.
Plus the pajamas.
Hold tight, I'll be here with you all night. My mind, I'm getting lost in your eyes. I'm broken when you're not around. Unspoken words I'm screaming out. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Now, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Here is a warning for anyone that ever travels in a larger vehicle on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Jams, do you remember this trauma? It all started in Asheville, North Carolina, where I hung out for a few days. I went and saw an amazing outdoor Shakespearean play. I got to work out. I went to an art festival. It was just a super fun time in Asheville. And I had this big plan to travel on the Blue Ridge Parkway for a week or more, all the way from Asheville almost to West Virginia. Day one was everything that travel dreams are made of. I mean, we stopped at this ridiculously beautiful overlook. I did yoga and meditated out on the cliff. We got sun, rain, a little bit of wind, all of nature's treasures. I opened my window in my RV and out was this incredible vista. This was like the travel dream that everyone always wants when you're about to buy an RV or a van, and I got it. It was amazing. The next couple of days is where trouble started brewing. First, we saw a bear, which was awesome, actually. We were driving and this little bear cub popped out on the side of the road. And then as soon as we locked eyes, I was slamming on my brakes a little bit to make sure that I don't hit a bear. He just traveled right back into the woods. It was really sweet, and I happened to catch it on my dash cam. Well, later that day or the next day, of course, we're now on bear alert. So anytime we're hiking, I got my head on a swivel constantly looking for bears, which it's always good to stay alert. What I didn't know, it was an omen to watch out. I'm traveling down the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I think I had been just used to going up and down a lot of rolling hills that day. So when I started going down this descent, I knew that I was going down and I could tell that I was using my brakes, but I didn't realize how steep the grade was for how many miles, and there were a lot of curves. Normally when you're traveling on a highway, you're going to see a big yellow sign that says, warning, X% grade descent for X many miles, trucks use lower gear, right? That doesn't exist on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Now, I know I had heard that in larger vehicles, well, in any vehicles really, it is possible to burn, melt, overheat your brakes. So what happens is, with all that friction, when you're overusing your brakes trying to control your speed, your brakes can become super, super hot, and they can melt, they can actually catch fire, and they can absolutely overheat and become squishy and not really work anymore. This is what happened to me. I had been traveling on this descent with a bunch of curves, and I was trying not to ride the brake because I know brakes can overheat. I had read, don't ride the brake. So I was trying to pump the brakes as I went down this hill, and that was not enough. I stopped at an overlook to let my brakes cool off for like 10 minutes. That was not enough time. When I got back in the car, I noticed when I put my foot on the brake to put it into gear, I noticed that the brakes felt a little bit differently, but I kind of like gaslit myself into thinking that, oh no, that was just how they always felt. This is totally normal. Don't worry about it. Don't gaslight yourself. I think I was about like 30 or 40 minutes away from this campground that I needed to make it to. The brakes got super squishy, and anytime I would hit the brake, I would have to like really press down on the brake, and the car would pull really hard to the left. Cognitively, I knew it was probably the brakes, but in my mind I was also thinking it could be all these other crazy things. Also on the Blue Ridge Parkway, there are no shoulders. There are several pullouts, but there is not usually a shoulder. So if your car becomes disabled and you're not next to a pullout, you're stuck in the lane. There's literally forest and cliff, and so there's not really a place to pull over. So my biggest fear was that my car was going to become disabled and I was going to be stuck in the middle of a lane of travel, obscured by a curve because it was super curvy, and then somebody was going to come around that curve, not being able to see me and pajamas in this RV and smash us into smithereens. Somehow, some way, I used up all my cortisol, all my adrenaline, and I made it to the fucking campground. And I pulled into the base of the campground, just like wherever I could find a place to stop, put it in park. Thanked God that I made it, exited the vehicle, and very quickly saw that my brakes were smoking. There was smoke pouring out of the brakes, and there was this guy sitting there, and he's in full cyclist gear and everything, and he's just chomping away on his snacks, just kind of, and I'm in my, oh my gosh, it's smoking, I think it's smoking, what do I do? I'm checking all the tires, and he's just like, maybe you should open the hood. That'll help your brakes cool down. I'm opening the hood. Okay, good. And finally, there was nothing for me to do but wait. And this guy was here, the most chill dude in the universe. And we started talking, and I think we talked for 1 or 2 hours. He shared his life story. I shared my life story. And all that cortisol and adrenaline and everything simmered down. My brakes cooled down. And ultimately, I was able to just thank him for being such a calm force that I needed in that moment. I felt confident enough that I could make it up the hill to the campground. Number 1, if you are driving a vehicle that has black and gray water tanks like I do, so if you have a toilet on board or sinks that are connected to a tank system, empty them before you go on a long trip. And especially empty them if you know you're going to be going up and down any grades. I had planned to empty my tanks when I got to this campground, but they were pretty full, and I calculated it. I have about 55 gallons between my black and gray water tanks. A gallon of water weighs, I think, around 8.5 pounds. So I was pulling and putting additional pressure on my brakes of around 500 extra pounds of liquid on this vehicle. That is substantial. That also negatively impacts my gas mileage. So now anytime before I'm going on a long trip, empty the tanks first. Number 2, it's a little hot today. There is an app now that I have discovered after that adventure on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It will tell you on almost all the roads across America where are the strong incline and declines, and also where are the runaway truck ramps, because those are a good indication of where there might be sketchy driving. After my Blue Ridge burning the brakes adventure, went back on that app and I realized that I had done 2 grades that day. And one of them was an 8% grade for 5.75 miles with basically curves all the way. That grade alone is pretty substantial and is enough to overheat someone's brakes. And I did another one that was, I think, around like 4 miles, 7% grade, also super curvy. So now that I'm like more aware and know more about this stuff, it's very obvious why I melted my brakes. Now, the third thing is again, because I didn't know the grade that I was going on, I didn't really realize it, but I didn't lower my gear. I stayed in drive instead of popping it down to second, which would have used the engine/transmission to slow my speed instead of relying exclusively on my brakes. So now whenever I'm going somewhere, I will first check the wind app to determine whether the wind along my route is going to be above 20, because if it's above 20, this billboard on wheels stays and chills for a little bit and lets that wind pass, because it's just no fun and is just not good for gas mileage either. And then I check the grades along the route. And if it's too sketchy of a grade or a super sketchy mountain pass, I'll find a different route. Or if it's something that I feel like I can do, I will just be aware that that grade is coming and know that I can pop it down in the gear. The last thing is just be ready for anything. Like, I've never driven a vehicle this size before, and so I'm not going to beat myself up. Yes, I had a very sketchy situation that could have injured myself or others. Yes, I ultimately had to spend $200 and get new brakes. But nobody got hurt. I learned valuable lessons, and now I'm much, much, much better prepared and much, much, much more aware to not make all of those mistakes again in the future. At the shop in rural Virginia, getting my brakes replaced on this rainy day. Keeping me alive on the road. That is the story of how I burned my brakes on the Blue Ridge Parkway and lived to tell the tale. Jams, do you remember when we burned our brakes on the Blue Ridge Parkway? Do you remember when we saw the bear?